Lex Luthor goes back in time to try to become Superman's dad.
Who's your daddy?
It's the kind of madcap adventure that only the Silver Age can bring you. I posted some panels from this and some of you wanted to know more, and it's actually an entertaining story and it comes from an issue that has some historic significance. So there are some fun things to discuss as well as a unique level of pettiness. I'm Sasha, this is Casually Comics, and it's disturbing that both Lex and Lois have had a plan to go back in time and try to marry one of Superman's parents. Because never forget, Lois tried to pull this with Superman's dad. Leave Kal-El's parents alone. The story we're going to be looking at is called If Lex Luthor Were Superman's Father? ? It's the cover story of Superman 170 from the year 1964, and the cover claims that this is an imaginary story, which was the original name for stories that took place outside of the continuity. But sometimes they could be complete, but they would be made in such a way that if they were to be canon, they would really disrupt some of the things that were going on. However, technically this one isn't an imaginary story based on that criteria because it's a time travel story. So in some ways, this actually happened, which means it can be referenced. Oh, somebody please reference this. Superman just starts having flashbacks to having known Lex as a child. This story was written by Superman co-creator Jerry Siegel with art by Curt Swan, and is inks by George Klein. It is the second story in this issue. The first is Superman's mission for President Kennedy, a story that got postponed till this issue because of his assassination. This story, prepared in close cooperation with the late President Kennedy, was scheduled for publication in Superman number 168. When word of his tragic assassination reached us, we immediately took it off the press and substituted other material. However, White House officials have since informed us that President Johnson wanted it published as a tribute to his great predecessor. And so, we dedicate to the memory of our late beloved president this plea for his physical fitness program, to which he was wholeheartedly devoted during his life. Superman's mission for President Kennedy. So as mentioned, this is basically an ad for his physical fitness program. I'm going to use the word ad instead of propaganda, which is another way that you could categorize it. It's a whole plan to make Americans stronger because the world is viewing them as weak. Observe the president's physical fitness program and the weakling Americans will be the strong Americans. The original art for this story will be donated to the John F. Kennedy Memorial Library at Harvard University. So that's some historic trivia for you. Now on to what you came here for, which is Lex crossing boundaries. The teaser for this reveals that he isn't just planning to adopt an already born Kal. No, he's going to become his dad. And somehow Superman's gonna look exactly the same. Lara's genes must be strong, or maybe Alexis hasn't cracked the genetics yet. He's gonna save that type of tomfoolery for when he creates his and Clark's son. Never forget that origin for Connor Kent. I love it. So good. Make that the only origin. Best plotline. When this story opens, Lex is in prison, but he hatches a daring escape. He's gonna volunteer for this program where they're gonna use prisoners to test a dangerous serum, and then they're promised that they'll get some kind of lowering of their sentence, but not Lex because he's too evil. But he volunteers anyway because he's just so sorry. But soon after the injection, the serum backfired. It caused a fever that reactivated an old heart ailment of mine. Only a certain potion I once created can save me. Tell me the ingredients quickly. I'll prepare it for you. Well, that doctor is getting fired. Surprise, surprise. It was a growth potion. When you and the warden fell for my phony reform story, I could hardly keep from laughing. Emanations from the potion enlarged my clothing, too. I like that they preempted the why did his clothes get bigger letters? They're like, no, because there were drops of potion on it. You're not allowed to get bogged down in those details. There's gonna be so many more questions to answer. Now, Lex had a lair close to the prison, just in case, as strategy. Definitely not as copium because he gets captured so much. And since he's obsessively been stalking and studying Superman, he comes up with a plan when he's looking at parts of Superman's past on his time scope. It's a time travel idea. What could go wrong? Getting some props and a special device to help him deal with Krypton's gravity, he goes back in time and he sets himself up as a noble space traveling hero. He's got some fake footage. There's a combination of artificially created stuff and deep fakes. Do not fear me. I'm Luthor the Noble, a cosmic champion for good. How fortunate I learned to speak Kryptonese long ago. I want to know the first mental gymnastics that Lex went through when he was studying this dead language to own his nemesis. Ha! I'll speak to him in a language that only he knows. Lex needs to yell at Clark and Kryptonian more often. Now, Luthor sets it up so that he meets the top scientific minds of Krypton, which also includes Jor-El and Lara. Because of his obsessive studying of Superman, he knows when Brainiac is going to come and take Kandor off of Krypton. And so he's able to present this information, knowing that he won't be believed, because, I mean, look what happens to Jor-El. But because he's done this, it's able to make him seem like the kind of person who stands up for his convictions and is willing to put himself out there when it's proven that he's right. It makes him seem impressive to Lara. It also allows him to gain some standing in Kryptonian society. We were wrong and you were right. Apologizing now won't help Jor-El. Why didn't you believe Luthor? I rate higher than Jor-El does. Good. I'm sorry my mission on Krypton failed, Lara. You alone had faith in me. I'd like to know you better. That would suit me fine. Come, I'll show you some of this world's interesting sights. I can show you the world montage. Go! Shining, shimmering, splendid. They are going to go to the Jewel Mountains. This story has a part 2, and the part 2 teaser is even better than part 1. At last, now nothing can interfere with my ambition to rule the earth, for Superman won't dare oppose his own father. With Jor-El discredited in Lara's eyes, Luthor takes the final incredible step to remove his Kryptonian rival from the scene. Can he successfully change history by making Superman his son instead of his foe? Read The Wedding of Lara and Luthor. Now, Jor-El has noticed that Lex is moving in on his girl, and so he seeks to try and do something impressive. He's going to go and study the ancient underwater inventions of the Kryptonian Atlanteans, basically. There was an ancient society under there. But he gets trapped down there, and he didn't tell anyone where he was going, and only Lex knows, and he's not telling anyone. You know what it is now? The perfect time to propose. Anyone who's seen the Jewel Mountains can never forget them. Their fascinating beauty entrances all beholders. Compared to your loveliness, it's drab. From the first instant I saw you, Lara, I knew you were the girl for me. Please say you'll marry me. What an honor to be courted by such a famous space hero. He may not be handsome, but he's exciting. Jor-El, handsome but boring. You heard it here first. Don't worry, Lara. He'll become much more exciting when he becomes a social pariah. My answer is yes. Wonderful. I'm a man of action, so let's get married tomorrow, sweetheart. Little fast worker me. What follows is undoubtedly the best part of the issue, which is Lex Luthor's daydream about what he's going to do, how this is going to play out, and he's playing the long game. He's going to have to stay on Krypton for years, and he's really excited about it. I'll act like an ideal husband. A couple of years from now, when we have a baby boy, I'll sigh joyously. What if they had a girl? There are so many contingents in this plan. I love it. Cute tyke. Have you decided how to name him? As if I didn't know. We'll call him Kal-El. Kal-El, no. And when Krypton starts to explode. Goodbye, Kal-El. There's only room for you in this ship. It will carry you to Earth where you'll gain superpowers. When you grow up, you'll look like the statue of Superman I've fashioned. Why did you build that statue, husband? Then I'll sneak off alone to Earth in my hidden time space warp ship, which wasn't really stolen, and return to 1964. And when I meet Superman face to face, even though you're conquering Earth, I can't battle against my own father. You're a good son, Kal-El. This plan relies on a couple of things. One, that somehow he's going to turn out to be the same Superman, and two, that he's not going to be willing to oppose his father. There's no rebellion in Superman, none at all. Fathers and sons, this plan has some problems outside of the obvious. Now, I was hoping for Jor-El to get to burst in and do a whole "I object" during the ceremony, but that is not what happens. Instead, Lex's gravity tech malfunctions, and so he plummets to the ground and is being crushed, and he has to reveal the truth. Jor-El escaped from under the sea because he temporarily gave himself superpowers. It was foreshadowed, it didn't come out of nowhere. And so Lex has to go back to 1964, and Lara doesn't even miss him. All of this has made her realize that she loves boring, dependable, handsome Jor-El. Remember, so handsome. That's the most important Silver Age criteria. Why do I always have such rotten luck? Why can't I ever win? Why must I always be a loser? Yes, Luthor is sure running into a streak of bad luck. What's irk? How do you make an irk sound? Hello, stranger. It would make no sense, but I would have lost it if Superman was like, hey, dad. And so Superman takes his not dad back to jail. What a waste of an escape, Lex. Now the real question is, was this more or less disturbing than when Lois tried this when she was trying to get with Superman's dad? I would argue that it's less, because Lex Luthor is a villain. This kind of dastardliness, at least it's kind of in character. It's something I expect. Petty Lex is king. He walked so Eobard Thawne could run. These stories are always entertaining in the way that they just dive into these outlandish concepts, and then there's the added kind of meta amusement of the fact that it's Comics Code approved. That makes it fun, in my opinion. For some, this may be too weird or even a bit disturbing. So I want to hear your thoughts on Lex as Superman's dad, the story, the concept, everything. Leave it down below. While you're down there, please will you do things like share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time today spent discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. This is my Lois So Handsome shirt. The link is down below if you so choose. See you again soon. Bye.